episode 51 of What's the Buzz. Super excited today. I'm joined by Jessie Kent, who's property manager at Princeton Research Labs. Jessie, welcome.
Hi, great to be here.
Yeah, great to have you.
Thanks
I'm
for
excited
having me.
for yeah, my pleasure. You know, we got connected through a mutual friend, and I've been learning more about Princeton Research Labs, so I'm looking forward to digging in today. Um, before I dig in, Jesse, let me cover a little bit of housekeeping for our What's the Buzz. So for anybody tuning in for the first time, What's the Buzz is our podcast we do every other week or every week sometimes, focused on ecosystem builders. So Jesse, what we call ecosystem builders are people that are impacting the life science ecosystem. In your case, it's because you're literally building an ecosystem of companies through the labs and through your infrastructure. But we talk to site heads and place-based venture capitalists and anybody really building the infrastructure and ecosystem that supports the companies that we all work with and helps them get their products to market. So we think it takes a village, and we know it takes a village to bring medicine to market, and we're excited to talk to the people that help make those villages possible, like yourself. What's the Buzz is brought to you by Heffron, who is literally building the communities that we support. Heffron is a 104-year-old mechanical engineering and contractor based out of Maryland. They've been involved with some of the most iconic lab buildings out there, and they have a service department that is, beyond the best in the business. Salt of the earth, family-run business who can work on some of the most complex projects and has worked on some of those complex projects. So we're excited to have Heffron as our sponsor for What's the Buzz. In fact, they're our lead sponsor for our event coming up at the end of April as well, around building Maryland's bioeconomy. So thank you to Heffron for all you do to literally build the biotech industry. So Jesse, let's dig into you, because that's what we're here to talk about today. Do you mind doing a quick introduction and telling people a little bit about yourself and the Princeton Research Labs?
Sure. So, yes, I'm excited to be here too, representing the Princeton Research Labs. The park itself actually has a really long history, and I am a third generation member of the park. I've been here for 15 years, and recently we've come under new ownership and relaunched as Princeton Research Labs, which has brought a lot of renewed energy and investment to the park. And that's why it's a really exciting time. We are continuing to build on the legacy and positioning ourselves as a place that can continue to truly support and grow life sciences companies across all areas of research. We are a 250,000 square foot laboratory park. We're located on the Route 1 corridor in New Jersey that actually is called Einstein's Alley. And it's right in between Princeton and Rutgers universities. We're home to currently over 50 companies. We actually have had up to 80 companies here at one time, and we've supported almost 300 companies here over the last 40 years. We provide move-in ready labs, GMP spaces, clean rooms for a wide range of life science and tech companies. It's across biotech, pharma, material science, chem, tech, pretty much everything. I think I've seen it all until then the quantum and the AI comes now. But it's from early stage startups to more established organizations. And I think that what really sets us apart is our ability to support these companies through every stage of their growth. So, because of our 40 plus years of experience designing and operating these lab environments, we can adapt quickly, and that's a big point, and deliver flexible solutions. And that flexibility is also a big point here, that evolves with our tenants' needs. So, like I said, the flexibility, I think, is really the core of our success here. We're able to help small companies scale efficiently and without having to leave the park. That's
That's
one of the things that, yeah, I think that makes us really special here.
That's incredible. I mean, 40 years, we hear time and time again how important it is to know you have an expert on your side. When you're tackling
Right.
some of the most difficult technologies and science there is, you need experts around you. And It sounds like, I mean, with 40 years behind your belt, it sounds like, when people come to Princeton Research Labs, they have expertise at any type of their facility growth right there baked in.
Yeah, our new owners actually bring a lot of that too. They, are just very experienced in lab environments, building labs all over, and that's been, a really exciting thing to bring us to the next level.
That's incredible. And who are the new owners?
The new owners, it's this group, South Duval, out of Maryland, and they, like I said, they have lab spaces up and down the East Coast, and another group out of New York. And they're also, really hands-on and excited about the science, which makes them, really amazing, new owners and partners in, you know, focusing on the needs of the science companies. Having a life science park is quite complicated, and they like to dig in on that. So
Yeah, I'm actually in a South Duval building myself, city garage down in Baltimore.
I
So
love that. Okay,
yeah,
great.
so I know firsthand that you're telling the truth. Tell me about where you're positioned. So you have, 50 companies in this park. You're positioned in Einstein's Alley. Tell me about that kind of greater community and the role that you all play in it.
So the community is a big deal, and especially when you talk about the location, this is a really, you know, it's sort of a niche park because we help early stage life science companies, but in this area there is a lot of science. I mean, that's why it's called Einstein's Alley, because up and down the Route 1 corridor you have a lot of big pharma, but being between these two universities you've got a lot of talent. So the talent pool is here. It's a really attractive place for not just companies in New Jersey or on the East Coast, but people, life science companies on the West Coast that want to have an East Coast presence will come here, or international companies that want to have a US presence. They look at this area as, a hub for science. And we also, we get a lot of spin outs from the universities. We get a lot of ex pharma guys here. And there's a lot of collaboration because of that. It seems like sometimes everyone knows each other because everyone worked at Merck or Bristol, together at one point, and then they end up here doing, starting up their own new venture.
Yeah, that's great. Well, in New Jersey in general is don't they call it, like the medicine chest of America?
Test of the world.
Yeah, of the world. So what's it like being in that, like, such a robust ecosystem? I mean, it sounds like you're getting a lot of companies out there for it, but um, how does that impact, like, the quality of the startups that come in and the quality of the science that these companies are building?
I think it's helpful in that, okay, so there's an ecosystem here of, early stage to mid stage, late stage. That ecosystem means there's sometimes a collaboration, which is really nice. Tenants, we will do these roundtable events where tenants can just get together and share ideas. They can, help each other with resources. I mean, we're also a really, hands-on landlord that helps, connect tenants with everything that they would need involving the science. But in terms of the community and and that ecosystem, there's collaboration. I mean, we have tenants that are analytical labs that help the other tenants with, analytical services and, sharing resources with equipment. It seems like, the science world is a tight knit community.
Yeah, and now when we first talked, I'll never, when we first talked about this conversation here today, that's something that kept coming up with you, like community, and
Mhm.
it sounds like that's important for you and kind of the legacy that you've built over the 40 years is community is something. So why do you see community as so important to shaping the success of these companies? And how has that been kind of part of the superpower that you and your family before has brought to the park?
I think it's because, you hit on that because I have this, I guess, more personal feeling that relationships really matter. When you're a small, early stage company, and these are the companies that need a lot of help. They're coming out of the university. They had everything done, for them, or coming out of big pharma. Now they're on their own, and it's building these relationships, being able to connect with other people in the science community that have been through the challenges that they're going to face. I mean, I've got a lot of people that come to me and say, all right, my timeline's 2 years, you get funded, now the clock is ticking and they've got to produce results, and there's going to be challenges. And, I've been here for 15 years. The park has been around for 40. I've seen it. And because of the collaboration and just the connections you can make in those relationships, I can connect people that are struggling to fit out a CLIA lab and fill out all the documentation on their FDA audit, or details like that. How do we build a biolab over a weekend because they need to, produce results that quickly. It's when you have good relationships in this ecosystem. I know it's a buzzword, but it's true. um, it helps them, meet those deadlines, do it, cost effectively, because money is also a big issue.
Yeah,
So when you
yeah,
have those
especially.
relationships, you can, it just helps get things done smoother. You're having patent issues. Tenants can come to me, or at least I know how to connect them to the right person who's already been through this.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's something that is I don't think that gets as much importance when you look at and I travel around a lot, so I go into a lot of incubators, and there's some very commercialized incubators out there that are run really well, and again, they're run really well, um but you bring like 15 years of like experience and relationships, and that's again more important than just the infrastructure. That's a critical element, I think, that someone coming to Princeton Research Labs, it sounds like they don't just get space, and they don't just get
Right.
expertise on how to build the space, the lab ops. They're not just getting that. They're getting 40 years of relationships that you're helping to move timelines forward. And I think I'm so glad you brought that up around relationships, because it's hard to it's hard to really quantify that, but that's so critical.
It really is, and you're right. I feel like sometimes it gets overlooked, but that experience, and like I said, especially with earlier stage companies, I mean, they need to conserve their capital and not overspend, especially in those first 2 years. Where you can spend huge dollars on consultants here and there, and we can help them, be more efficient.
Hmm.
And it really, I think, is the
Investment.
key to our success and their success. I mean, it truly, what I've always felt like, it was something my grandfather always said, their success is our success. So we're not a research park that just says, all right, here's your gorgeous new GMP clean room. Good luck. We stick with you the whole time, um, because, their success is what keeps us going. And it's also really exciting to, watch them grow.
Yeah,
One of my parts.
I love that. Their success is our success, and I don't know. I'm just in a reflection. I mean, there's something to that. I mean, some of the best companies I work with, Heffron has this model as well, right? So they're 104-year-old. So maybe it says something about this kind of family mentality that you bring. But they say all the time, like, we see it through. Like, we are going to see it through to the very end with you. And it sounds like you bring that same type of personal commitment, almost, not just in a statement of work, or but like a personal commitment on you supporting them.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I have the personal connection to it, and now, being under new ownership, I'm honored to continue on with that legacy, because bringing the park to the next level, I mean, that's really, what we're doing, for the last year, but really hitting the ground running this year.
Let's talk
Bringing the
about that.
park to the next level is something I just. What'd you
Yeah,
say?
let's talk about that. That's exciting. So you got South Duval in as a partner
Mhm.
now. What's the future like? What are you working on? What are some of the improvements? Like tell us some of the exciting things that you guys are now as a team are working on, and building the park into.
So there's a lot of momentum right now for the future of the park. The new ownership came in 2025, and like I had mentioned at the beginning, major capital investment, and that has been really exciting. So in terms of the current projects, we have new roofs on 3 of the buildings. We've painted all of the buildings that are so needed, and it's gorgeous now. I'm like really excited to start posting some of the pictures because it's just incredible. We have a beautiful new monument sign. We've rebranded, logos. Um, we are upgrading all of our systems, BMS systems. All of our HVAC is getting upgraded. Um, Cosmetic things that are actually like my really excited. All the bones of the buildings are all being upgraded, but we're redoing all the common areas, a new conferencing facility for the tenants, new parking lots. It's the whole shebang.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
so
sounds
I'm
awesome.
really excited.
Yeah, and I'm sure your current tenants are excited about that as well.
Oh my
See
goodness, the calls
this.
that I get, they're like, finally I could see the beautiful landscaping. The landscaping project is just also another phenomenal thing. I'll be posting some pictures online about that.
Oh, that's exciting.
And we're going to have
Um,
some more events now that we're going to have this great conferencing facility. More events are coming. I'm doing a big vendor show in May. We're going to do a picnic. I have connected with the county and the state to bring in, monthly like roundtable events for helpful resources that the state offers all the life science companies, just to hook them up, because sometimes they just don't know. And I found out recently, I was shocked. I mean, there's so much money that the state is giving away to these companies, and they just don't know about it. So I'm having the girls from the county come in and sign everybody up for all the grant programs.
well, that's awesome. Yeah, I don't know about I don't know New Jersey as well as I do kind of Greater Philadelphia, Maryland, North Carolina. So, but I've heard great things. I've had a couple conversations with NJ Bio and some other
Right.
companies up there. Seems like a very supportive ecosystem.
Yes, they are. It's vibrant, and yeah, there are a lot of resources out there. And sometimes the scientists are just so stuck in their lab, and so now I'm like knocking on their door, like there is money out there to be had. I'm helping you get it, whether you like
sounds
it
like
or
you're
not.
sounds like you're a great person to know when it comes to now not only facilities but now money too. So
Right. I mean, they need it. They should
yeah.
always be out there looking for money.
Yeah, yeah, that's something that's pretty common with a lot of startups. Like they're always raising money and looking for money. It's
Yeah.
expensive to build these technologies and these medicines.
Hmm.
Yeah. Events are you brought up events just now. So you have a vendor show.
Hmm.
Like how important is that part of your strategy in keeping these companies connected?
Well, I love it because, like I said, the scientists are always in their lab, and they don't necessarily always know like everything that's going on in the park. They drive into the park, they go, they work. So bringing them together, sometimes, I'll have 100 people that are shocked. Oh my goodness, look how much different science or the same exact science is going on. And then people learn, people collaborate. So it's really fun just in that way to bring them together. Um, and I've also found it really helpful. For example, like the one that's happening in May is a lab safety vendor event with Triumvirate. And it's something that me personally as a property manager, I'm also really excited about. Um, but it's helpful for them. Sometimes it's just even like a roundtable event. I have a funny anecdote where all the tenants are getting together, and I had one tenant speak about some of the dark days that they had had and how they came out of it. And they're both working on these two guys are both working on Alzheimer's research, but they have completely different approaches. And this not argument, but a very healthy debate ensued. And it was one of the most interesting things I ever heard, that, they're saying, no, you do this, you do that. And everyone was just, like mesmerized. And so some of the science gets really interesting, just, connecting on that level. I mean, for me, I love the science. It's a real estate project, and I love managing this property, but I get really excited about the new science I feel like it's bringing into the future. You walk around the site, and if you're ever around, I think you should definitely come and visit, because you get this feeling that there's like these little Microsofts in the garage that are truly the future of our world.
Yeah, that's wow, that's incredible. Yeah, the science right now is pretty incredible. You mentioned quantum and AI and stuff like that. Like,
Yeah,
wait till that hits, right? I mean, but the
I
science
know,
in general,
mind blowing.
yeah, with gene therapy and radiopharmaceuticals and cell therapy and the ADCs and bispecific. There's so much new, like,
I
really
know.
stuff that's really kind of moving forward.
And
Um,
quickly. I mean, this is an exciting time to be alive in general, but an
mhm.
exciting time to be able to watch the biotech and the whole life sciences and tech world, material science world, because I just feel like we're going to be moving at a speed now that we can just, you're not looking at these 20-year timelines anymore.
Yeah, and when you move with speed, you need a good partner like Jessie Kent who can connect you with the right releases, excuse me, connect you with the right relationships and move you forward, not just give you a roof and a lab bench.
I had
Uh,
a, yeah.
so I hear all the time. I keep coming back to our theme today. I hear all the time people say, well, I have tenants, but I don't know if I have a community. And so just reflecting on our
Mm.
conversation, you know, uh, it sounds like you really kind of look at what you're building is truly a community, not tenants. And you keep talking about bringing them out of the lab and bringing them together and finding collaborations where they can work together. Man, it seems like, I mean, with 40 years experience, it sounds like you got a really good recipe. So I guess, and one of my questions for you, Jesse, is, what do you think are the ingredients if you were to kind of write down a couple of the ingredients for a really successful research park? What are, I'm throwing you on the spot here a little bit, but what are a couple of those top ingredients that you would put on the recipe?
Okay, because you're right. I mean, we've built hundreds of labs, from 200 feet to 20,000 feet. The ingredients, that's interesting. I think, okay, a very, like I said before, a hands-on landlord that is going to stick with you and come visit you and learn about what you're doing and understand the challenges and be willing to work with you. It's labor intensive. I'm not going to get like this isn't easy work. It's rewarding, but it is a lot. But I think the relationship, but also I mentioned at the very beginning, flexibility and speed. I think it's, when you're talking about whether you're early or mid stage or even later stage companies, the need for flexibility in the size of your lab, the cost of the fit out, everything that goes into how they're going to operate. I think flexibility is really important because the nature of these companies is, they don't know what they don't know when the next project is coming down the line. It could come that, where they need a lab built very quickly. And so that brings me to the second thing, and that's speed. Um, you know, they have to produce results. And that's something that I think is, really important about our park and really sets us apart is we are going to understand that, I know I'd mentioned this before, but when the clock is ticking, they can't wait. And we're gonna we're gonna understand that and be able to get them to be able to produce their results so that they can get their next round of funding. That's the survival of these companies. These guys are in the hardest business in the world.
Mhm.
And um, in order to get to that next, to get to their next stages, they need speed and flexibility.
Yeah. Well put. That sounds like a really good recipe, Jesse. Um, well, in some of our I hope you don't mind me bringing this up as well, but you're also a new mom. So
Mhm.
congratulations. But it sounds
Thank
like
you.
you're really not a new mom because you've been taking care of a lot of these early fledgling startups for many, many years. So that
They're
like
family. It's a
yeah, that's
family. You say it's a community, and you know what? I truly feel like they're part of the family. I will
yeah.
say, one of the nicest things is one of our tenants who was here for 20 years started in 1,500 feet. This is a very typical thing here too. Starts in 1,500 feet, over 20 years, grows slowly, incrementally, so that it made sense for their business model. Grows into ends up in 20,000 feet. And when they went public, they invited my mom and I to go ring the NASDAQ bell with them. And it was quite an honor because, not everybody got invited to go do that. And we went, and of course it was amazing, but they felt like they had that supportive, environment that, it's because of that supportive environment, they felt like their landlord needed to be there to ring it. And it was, that's the family aspect that you get here.
That's incredible. What an honor I'm sure that was for you all to be there and to see that. I mean, that's what it's all about, right? Growing the companies, getting products to patients, and I'm sure that was very rewarding for you all to be part of that and see. Well, Jessie, thank you so much. This has been awesome, really getting to know you and getting to know the park. How can people connect with you, or they want to come by and check out the park? Like what?
I say, come by. I'm there every day. Stop by anytime. Reach out to us. Go to PrincetonResearchLabs.com. Connect with us on LinkedIn. Follow us for all the updates because, like I said, all the exciting capital improvements that are going on right now are really, really cool. And just call, email, stop by.
Yeah, it sounds like. I hope from this conversation that we've had today, you get your phone is buzzing off the hook.
We have your lab space.
Yes, and I owe you a visit myself, so I got to come up there soon too. So
great.
So don't be surprised if you see my face pop in one of those days.
Great. Okay, I'll see you soon.
Well, thank you again for your time today. I really appreciate you sharing all the incredible work you're doing to build a community and kind of that family atmosphere to support companies from startup to NASDAQ. I mean, it's incredible. Yeah, really incredible. Well, and thank you all for joining today for this conversation with Jessie. Learned about everything happening in Einstein's Alley there in New Jersey. I hope you tune in next week. Next week, we are going a little bit farther south to North Carolina, where we'll be talking with our special guest, Roy Llewellyn, who is an interim executive director and chief strategy officer for Eshelman Innovation, which is an innovation intermediary spinning companies up and supporting therapeutic companies out of UNC Chapel Hill. So another ecosystem builder, just like yourself, Jessie. This time a little further south, though. So please come back and join us next week. And until then, I hope you reach out to Jessie and come by and see Princeton Research Labs sometime soon because a lot of exciting things happening there. So Jessie, thank you again. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Chris. All right. Talk to you soon.
All right. Have a great day.
Bye.